So my sister just hit me up, and she was telling me about a dude named Carlos Patterson, who went to De La Salle High School, class of 1995, and he was telling a story about his experiences at De La Salle on the south side of Chicago. Now he got there a year after me, but here's my story. So in August of 1990, I get to De La Salle High School. I'm a freshman, and it was my first experience around white folks. Like, never went to school with them, nothing. And the thing you got to know about De La Salle High School, a lot of those guys, at least when I was there, a lot of those white boys, they came from Bridgeport, right? The mayor, he was from Bridgeport. His father was the mayor. They both went to De La Salle High School. And so anybody who knows anything about Bridgeport, you know it was really racist back in the 80s and 90s. Some people might be familiar with the Leonard Clark story. Young black guy who was beat down severely by racist white boys in Bridgeport. So I get there in 1990 at De La Salle High School, and probably 2 months in, I'm sitting in Spanish class, right? Miss Dial. I never forget it, Miss Dial. And there's two white boys sitting. One is sitting directly in front of me. The other one is off to my left. And I think the guy's name who was sitting next to me was Rashid. It was a brother. And the guy directly in front of me was, I believe his name was Mark Geisinger. This is like 30 years ago. So he starts talking about me, right? But under his breath, low key, start talking about me. So at first I didn't say anything, right? But he keeps going. Him and his boy, he's basically egging Geisinger on. So then I start talking about him, right? I started talking about him. What he didn't know was I was the master at talking about people. Like, I'd talk about anybody, talk about your dead mama, I don't care. So we going back and forth, right? But I'm eating his ass up. I'm eating him up so bad, even his white boy, his friend, was laughing, right? He's laughing. So bell rings. There's a front door and a back door to the classroom. And he goes out of the back door. I'm still gathering my books up. I like bent over to grab my books. And just as I pop back up, from the back door, he spits in my direction, at me, spits while I'm still sitting down. It almost tagged my right arm, right? I jump up, run out of the classroom, and it's, of course, the classrooms the hallways are packed because, kids are going back and forth to their next class. As soon as I hit the hallway, I look to my left, I don't see him, and then all of a sudden, bam, he knocks my books out of my hands, right? Knocks my books out of my hands, all my papers go everywhere. And typically what happens in high school, when you get your stuff knocked down, everybody kicks it all over the hallway. I don't care who you are, what color you are. This is just something, hey, I've done it, right? You drop your books, you drop your papers, we kicking that shit all the way down the hall. So that's what happened. So I'm trying to gather up my books and my papers and stuff, but people are kicking my papers all around. So I just said, fuck it. I stopped. I jet down the hallway, catch this motherfucker down at the end of the hall, and slam him up against the fucking against the lockers. And I remember somebody, I don't know who it was, somebody was like, hit that motherfucker corn, because this is my first fight. This is my first beef with anybody. And I still on him, right? And just then, I can't think of this teacher's name, but it was an old white guy. He breaks us up, takes us down to the principal's office, to the dean's office. Dean Rivera, who had a son at that time. I think his son was a freshman. Dean Rivera. He gives the white boy, I think it was like 2 days detention, right? And gives me a 3-day suspension, right? Detention for him, suspension for me. So I tell my mother what happened. My mother comes up there, and man, she chewed his ass out. Man, she mopped the floor with Rivera. You could hear my mother, my friends said that they could hear my mother down in the dean's office from upstairs on the second floor, right? That's how loud she was. And she ripped his ass apart. So no suspension for me, but they pieced me later on that year, sent a letter to my house saying that I would be allowed to finish out the freshman year, but that I would not be invited back, right? And it was just crazy. So the things that happened at De La Salle was my introduction to how racist white folks are, and I think from then on, man, I just always looked at white folks differently than the rest of the human family, because I always expect they worse. And to their credit, for the most part, for the last 30 years, white folks have not strayed from that line of thinking that I have. Every once in a while, I'll see one of them do something good, do something humane, do something from a caring standpoint. But for the most part, I have no faith in white folks, none. So Carlos Patterson, his story, man, it's a million of them out there, and that's just from Chicago.